Hi there, it's been a while, right? Sorry about that. Anyway, the break is back, and I know that Women's Month March is over, but whatever. I'm celebrating my ladies every day. And here are some African women on the continent and in the diaspora that I'm definitely looking out for. Orekunrin, right? She's a Kenyan tech activist, a longtime blogger, Harvard law grad, and co-founder of Ushahidi, which means testimony in Swahili. It's a popular interactive website created to initially aid in receiving and mapping critical information during Kenya's 2007 post-election conflict. The website has grown beyond just Kenya, and today does a range of tech and crisis support throughout Africa. Now, Ori is currently the director of investments at Omidyar Network, the people behind eBay, and you know she was once the policy manager for Africa with Google. Check her out.
To date, it's a not-for-profit technology organization. Basically, after we built the version for Kenya, there was a lot of requests. We took the strategic decision not to do deployments directly ourselves, with exceptions, because we just don't have the manpower to be up for every crisis that happens. But what we try and do is support organizations or individuals who want to use the tool themselves.
Ushahidi has been used in elections in Lebanon, Gabon, Mozambique and Mexico to track the swine flu virus and other non-crisis occurrences. More recently, the 5 full-time staff of Ushahidi and other part-timers and volunteers came in real handy after the 7.0 magnitude Haiti earthquake.
We're working now on trying to scale so that hopefully bigger organizations can use us, and also we can reach more of the smaller organizations as well.
She seems so humble, right? All right, next is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. You know her, right? She's one of Africa's most prominent female writers. If you don't know her, don't know what you've been doing. Anyway, Chimamanda has been nominated for and won a plethora of top literary awards in Africa and beyond. She was listed in the New Yorker 2010 edition of 20 under 40 authors to watch. That's a big deal. She's given talks with TED, with her most recent one being titled, "We Should All Be Feminist." And remember, Beyonce sampled some of that talk with TED on her latest Flawless track. Now, I'm currently in her most recent book, Americana, which is great. And it was also selected by New York Times Book Review as one of the top 10 books in 2013. And you can't forget Harmattan Morning, Half of a Yellow Sun, and so many more. Check out an interview we did with her a few years ago.
It's important to acknowledge privilege that one has from birth. But it's also important to acknowledge that it's not just about that. You have to do something with it.
Right.
So it's not as though because my father was a professor, I sat down and my books fell from the sky. So I am a hard worker. I am an obsessive hard worker. I did very well in school. I guess it was also easy for me because I just did well. I was one of those kids but I studied. So in my writing as well, when I'm going to write, I read everything I can find. When I was writing Half of a Yellow Sun, I did the kind of research that one does when one is doing a PhD thesis. So, I work hard, I suppose is what I want to say. So there's the privilege, which I acknowledge and which I know that there are people who don't have it. And I wish everybody did, really.
She's such a role model, right? And I love that shirt every time I see that video. All right, moving on. Hadeel Ibrahim. She is the daughter of Sudanese billionaire Mo Ibrahim. You know him, right? The founder of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, where Hadeel is the executive director. And she's only like 29 or 30 years old. Now, you know the Mo Ibrahim Foundation was started in 2006, and it's one of the oldest NGOs that promotes good governance in Africa. Now, besides being on the board at Mo Ibrahim, Hadeel sits on the board of several other humanitarian and philanthropy projects, such as the Mary Robinson Foundation for Climate Justice, and also the board of FEMS, Africa Solidarity, and so many more. Check out an interview she was having a few years ago.
It's clear that capitalism, where it has delivered real benefits to the developed world largely over the last 100 years, in the developing world that's simply not true. And when you look at, particularly in Africa, our demographics, our huge youth population, it's clear that we're going to have to create a more inclusive, equitable, job-creating capitalism than we've seen in the last 10 or 20 years if we're to avoid real tensions in the fabric of our societies and real intergenerational conflict as this young generation comes of age. into a world in which there aren't enough jobs for them, in which they feel that the rules are not fair and their voices aren't being heard.
The girl is smart. All right, moving on. The very, 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 very famous Lupita Nyong'o. 31-year-old Lupita Nyong'o, you know her. She is the Kenyan-Mexican actress who just blew minds with her role as Patsy in the film 12 Years a Slave, directed by Steve McQueen. Now, for this role alone, she was nominated for several awards, huge. She won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, making her the 6th Black female and the first ever African to win an Oscar. And although it feels like Lupita came out of nowhere, she didn't. She paid her dues. Yale School of Drama, she PA'd or was a production assistant on several Hollywood films like The Constant Gardener, and she even directed some of her own smaller projects. Now here's a clip of Lupita discussing an old film that she did a few years ago.
Who you worked with in Kenya?
Okay. Well, I began making this film in 2006. It was my final thesis project at Hampshire College in Amherst, Massachusetts. So yeah, it began as a school project, and I went back home in August of 2006 and was there for 8 months working on the film. And yeah, I mean, when I got there, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to make a documentary. The subject matter, I wasn't sure. And how it came to be about albinism was because my friend who is in the film, CK, she lived across from me for 10 years. And I never knew and I never understood her condition. And when I got back...
Go, Lupita! All right, moving on. Wangechi, Mutu. She's an internationally acclaimed visual artist who works with various mediums, sculpting and video. She's Kenyan and based right here in Brooklyn. She's famous for her large Afrofuturistic collages, usually depicting women, and boy is she creative and deep. She says her work leans towards the fictional, the imaginary, dream-like. I love it. Now, did you see the video she directed with artist Santiago, The End of Eating Everything? You should definitely check it out. But here's a clip of her discussing one of her exhibits.
I actually don't know how long I've been making art for. I just remember I always made art and I didn't think anything of it because it was just this continual thing that I love to do. But I think I came to the decision that I am an artist in my late teens when I was at school in Wales, and I moved to the US in the 90s to come and study art and anthropology. From then, it was this amazing experience, journey, story that I'm living now, which has taken me from sort of a very emerging and struggling artist to the practice and the purpose I have at this point in time. I have an exhibition currently at the Nasher Museum in North Carolina called A Fantastic Journey. And in a way, it's sort of a title to wrap around the way I approach all of the work that I make, using that lens of fiction and the surreal, the unreal, and Afrofuturistic as a way of looking at the world.
Real creative stuff right there. All right, moving on, Miss Fatou Camara. Now, I began following Miss Fatou last year, and she's a bold journalist from the Gambia, currently based in the USA, in Georgia. Now, she had to flee her country, the Gambia, after being charged with inciting the Gambian public to rebel against President Yahya Jammeh. But even though she's away from Gambia, she still reports on the country and the issues there, and she updates her followers consistently. Now, she's on Facebook too. You should look her up at The Fatou Show. Here's a clip of Fatou on one of her recent shows.
Hello and welcome to the Fatou Show, of course, the biggest and the oldest TV show on the Gambia radio and television services. We are so happy to be here again this week to bring you the show. And of course, we would like to say thank you to Comium, our sponsors, for making it possible, and also the team that is behind the Fatou Show. You've seen all the new improvements that we have on the show, the new segments, and how our Facebook page is developing. If you are not our Facebook friend, you can subscribe to us and and it's facebook.com/Fatou Show. Facebook.com/ is FATU space SHOW. We're also on Twitter and Instagram. And this week we have a whole lot coming for you.
All right, moving on. Next is Faarrow. Towards the end of 2013, I got put on to Faarrow, the Somalian-Canadian stylish music duo. Their music is great, and most importantly, they're advocates. Now, because of their own experiences as Somali refugees, yes, they fled Mogadishu, Somalia at the age of 4 and 5. They're now spokespeople for the ongoing crisis in the country, and they are the first ever Somali female artist to be signed to a major label, that Sweet Rush at Universal Motown Records. Check out their video. I want all of their clothes. All right, moving on is Miss Ola Orekunrin. I'm saying it right, maybe. She's the founder of Flying Doctors Nigeria, the only ambulance airlift service in West Africa. The most amazing part of her story is that the British or the Nigerian native left her life in England, plus a high-paying doctor gig in the UK to be a physician in Africa. That's really cool. After her young sister died from not getting to the hospital in time, she then started Flying Doctors Nigeria, and that was around 2010. And so far, the company has airlifted more than 500 people. And oh yeah, she's a trained pilot, so that makes it even better. Check out this interview of her, or this discussion that she had at TED.
I'm an emergency doctor. I'm going to talk about trauma. This is why we continue to say never again. This is why we will not leave Nigeria without a service to circumvent all the problems that I've just spoken about. This is why we continue to say never again. Now, the Tomorrow's Doctors document was a very, very interesting document. It was published in
The girl is so smart, and I think she's well under 30, definitely. All right, moving on is Miss Lindiwe Mazibuko, South African politics. Now, she's actually a really big deal. The first black parliamentary leader of South Africa's opposition party, the Democratic Alliance. And she's only about 33 years old. Now, she was born in Swaziland, and she's a graduate of Cape Town University. She's been with the DA since 2009 and grown some tough skin. Now, something kind of strange to note is that for some reason, people are constantly questioning her blackness because she had an elite upbringing, which is kind of weird to me. But anyway, check out her speaking at the parliament.
Has the president ever reflected on what it must feel like to be a young person without a job in South Africa today? Does he feel for the 5 million young South Africans under the age of 34 who are unable to find work? Because the speech he gave on Thursday really did not show this. Does the president empathize with the young unemployed woman who opens her eyes every morning and sees another wretched and empty day stretching out before her? She knows she needs a job.
Slamming President Jacob Zuma. Did you see him sitting there at the corner? All right, finally, I'm at my number one, Miss Zuriel Oduwole. Oh my God, 11-year-old journalist, like a real journalist at 11 years old. Now, because of her brilliance, she was named Child Ambassador by Tanzania's First Lady. 9 years old is when she entered a contest where she focused her project on the Ghanaian Revolution. And from there, she began traveling the globe, interviewing prominent leaders. She has her very own, now check this out, nonprofit organization called Dream Up, Speak Up, Stand Up, where she encourages girls around the world to follow their dreams. Amazing, right? Check out this clip of her speaking.
Well, I don't have a particular campaign that's just for the Christmas season, but I do have a Dream Up, Speak Up, Stand Up program, which is all year round, of course. And I started that program to inspire the young girls who are in school to stay in school and to also get an education. Because I believe if the girl child has a chance to get educated, when they get older, they'll be able to have successful jobs, even own their own businesses, therefore creating jobs for many others, and they'll also be able to go out and employ their countries, and specifically the African continent.
Okay, so that's my list. And those are some of the ladies or young ladies that I'm definitely watching. Tell me about more. Now, we must celebrate them. So send me an email at thebreakwithtracy@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at @thebreak_Tracy. And you can find me on Facebook. Just type in The Break with Tracy. And I thank you so much for watching.